Good morning, Pega World.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Schuerman. I'm CTO and Vice President of Product Marketing for Pega. At Pega, we build strategic applications, so applications that meet the unique needs of some of the most sophisticated enterprises in the world. And we do that on a platform that allows those enterprises to change and configure those applications to meet their needs. And I'm joined today by Gilles Leyrat, who is Cisco's Senior Vice President of Customer and Partner Services. And that's part of Cisco's overall operations organization. And Gilles is responsible for engagement with Cisco's customers, partners, the sales process. And the goal here is to be able to deliver to customers the services and experience that provide great value to the stakeholders, but also do it at the level of operational excellence that Cisco demands. So Gilles, thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here, thank you.
So before we get started, I wanted to let our viewers know that this is going to be an interactive session. So in your console, you can input questions that you may have, and Gilles and I will weave them into the conversation today, and we'll also ask some of those questions at the end of the session. And today's topic is going to be what we call the paradox of technology. And as we look at the digital world that we live in, we've sort of reached this interesting point where in too many places, technology keeps us separate from our customers. It does it through bad systems. It does it when we ask a customer to transfer to a bunch of different lines on, say, an IVR. But the paradox here is that if you do it right, technology can be the very thing that brings you closer to your customers. In a digital world, we don't get a chance often to talk human to human with our customers. So it's our technology, the things that run in these digital channels, that actually make us human. And there are lots of leading brands that really get this and understand this story. American Express has 11,000 agents running on the Pega customer service application, and that application lets them focus on the customer who's on the phone rather than the complexity of Amex's back office systems. GM OnStar uses an integrated platform from Pega to integrate the signals and messages coming from their connected cars and ensure they get the right services out to all their drivers and auto owners. And SafeLight uses Pega for what's called field service, so the mobile application that enables field technicians to have all the information they need to solve a customer problem quickly, seamlessly, and efficiently. And of course, Cisco. So Gilles, I wanted to start today by asking you, at Cisco, what does it mean to you to deliver this sort of level of human service, of human experience to your customer?
So Don, I think the first problem that we need to solve when we do customer service is making sure we connect with the customer. Mm-hmm. And having those sort of technologies allows us to connect much better, having a better customer context so we know what the customer wants, we understand the history of the customer, and we're able to really provide information that's really relevant. What's not human is when you actually don't provide relevant information and you basically drive your customer crazy by having them going around different teams and different structures. So that's what we're trying to solve as a customer service organization in Cisco, is making sure we get the right information to our customers in a much more relevant fashion.
Well, and that is a problem that seems to have been with us for a while. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? You've been in the high-tech industry for quite a while.
Yeah, I've been in the IT industry for about 25 years. I started my career in a startup and then joined HP for 16 years and then moved to Cisco about 5 years ago. Right. So it gives me a perspective of having worked both in a small company where there is no rule, right? Yep. Because you are in a startup environment and you want to make sure you're doing things fast. And then a very structured company like HP, and a company that's even more, I would say, focused on customers, that's Cisco. Cisco is very much into customers. It's at the foundation of the company. This is really part of our fabric. So this is something that we are really trying to achieve every single day when we interact with our customers.
To tease that out a little bit, Cisco for many of us, has got this incredible association with innovation, with the Internet of Things, with really driving a lot of the technology that is sort of at the core of how our world is changing. How does customer experience sort of fit into that strategy for Cisco?
So it's so essential. One of the things that's going on in the IT industry these days is the fact that a lot of the service that we offer, or a lot of the business we do, is becoming an as a service business, right?
Yep.
So we're moving from the traditional, I'm selling you the infrastructure, to you serve basically as a service on a business outcome. That changes the game considerably, because what happens is that when you buy a service as a service, you can switch to another provider very quickly. So the experience is essential, because if you provide the wrong experience, then people are going to just walk away from you. So customer experience is becoming even more central than it is today. One key fact I'd like to, I'm sure you know that, but if you are actually having a better experience with your customer, your revenue is going to increase by a factor 2. So in other words, when you look at experience as a key differentiator, it really is a boost to your revenue and your top line of your business.
And I think your point about how we are just sort of shifting to this as a service business is just, I mean, you talk about the world of the connected car and autonomous automobiles. You almost see even major industries, like the automobile industry, moving from I'm selling you a product to I'm selling you an outcome. I'm selling you transportation to a place, and the way in which I deliver that becomes much more important than the actual physical product.
Absolutely, and we see that every day. We have a lot of customers that are coming to us to actually ask us to help them digitize and become an as-a-service business. So this is something which is really not just for the IT industry, by the way. I mean, this is something that really happens everywhere. You mentioned the automotive industry, but healthcare is another example. Some other industries are following the same sort of trends, where they're moving from, again, traditional selling of a product to selling a service, with a business outcome attached to it.
So what are the challenges in sort of getting this right? As the world shifts to being about this customer experience and about sort of delivering these seamless outcomes to customers, what are the challenges that both organizations facing, that Cisco is facing in terms of being able to deliver on that promise?
Well, I mean, the first issue that we all face when we move to an as-a-service business is really being able to absorb what we call the fish. I don't know if you heard about this story about the fish. It's basically the fact that when you are transitioning or transforming, digitizing your business that way, you will have a dip in your revenue, because your revenue become annualized versus something that you do every day, right?
Yep.
But your cost is going to increase, because your acquisition cost, your sales cost is going to increase. So there is a point where you're going to have to spend much more money than your revenue stream, and so you got to have actually the process and the balance sheet to be able to absorb that. So there is some financial implications in those transformation that are really critical to understand. And then digitization actually helps you flatten the fish, to actually get the revenue and the costs actually aligned much, much better. Because there's a lot of processes you can accelerate with digitization, which makes the investment in sales much smaller, and therefore you're actually going to be able to do this transition in a much more effective fashion.
So I've heard sometimes people talk about sort of the S-curve model, right, where you have a curve of business, and legacy traditional development has been this way, and then it kind of flattens out, and a new S-curve, which is this as-a-service business, begins, and it's how do you time that jump to get from one S-curve to the other one, to make sure that you don't get caught too late on the old S-curve, or you don't jump too soon to the new one.
And the other thing which is critical in digitization and the way you handle those things is that you use DevOps models, you use continuous delivery models.
Yep.
So that's really important, because that's the way you can very quickly turn things around. So rather than having those very long cycle where you really try to understand how you're moving your business, transforming it, you make it in a way that it's actually in a very short period of time. So we've actually put together some sort of a factory model where we do those transformation in sequence, and it takes us 14 weeks for re-engineering key services, and we put them in parallel so that we can actually make this transition as efficient and as small as possible.
Wow. So how does that play out in an organization with Cisco, where you, in addition to sort of this new service model
Right.
and these new technologies like continuous deployment and DevOps, I'm sure you guys, like every large organization, have a significant amount of legacy systems that
Yes.
you're also driving, and you're competing against these new vendors that don't have that kind of legacy. And,
That's right.
and how have you worked and balanced the kind of legacy environment and this need to move fast?
That is a great question. And the key to all of this is simplification. Before you do any sort of digitized effort, you start by simplifying what you do. Cisco has been around for 30 years. We have a relatively complex portfolio of products. So you can imagine how much complexity has been adding up over the years, right? So the first thing you need to do is really make sure that you simplify dramatically how much your process has become. Once you simplify, then it will tell you which are the key integration and the key systems that are still relevant for your process after it's simplified, and therefore it actually accelerates the time it takes to automate and digitize your process. So it's really about starting with simplification, making sure you understand very clearly what are the minimal viable products that needs to be part of this transformation. Mm-hmm. That drives actually a much shorter cycle times when it comes to delivering the IT.
And how do you get to that simplified vision? I've heard lots of companies sort of struggle with that challenge of simplification. Right. And what have you found to be effective at Cisco to actually get everybody on board? Because sometimes that simplification means getting people who operate in silos like this to actually think like that.
It's kind of the layer cake sort of approach here,
which
is actually a good principle to make sure you're moving fast on those things. The other thing that we've been doing in simplifying is to really, every time you simplify, you extract the rules, from your process. Yep. Because sometimes, and most of the time, particularly in more legacy applications, your rules are embedded into your process.
Yep.
So when you want to change something, you have to change the whole process. So by doing simplification, it allows you to extract the rules, right? Have them exposed to your business SMEs, people that really know how things are working, and then have them engaged to the process to simplify at the business rules level. That's really what makes the big difference, because when you do that, then you actually are able to re-engineer in a very short period of time.
And that's one of the ways that you guys are using Pega, right? You've kind of Pega's the repository of those business rules once you extract it, and it can kind of act as sort of your central intelligence brain. Right. And then your business people can actually go in those, change the rules, drive the changes they need to make.
Absolutely.
What, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of the impacts to your business that you've seen from being able to do that and from driving some of those kind of simplifications?
Tremendous. I mean, some of the processes we have, we managed to reduce our cost by a factor 4. So 80% cost savings, accelerating the number of touches we have on our processes. So some of the processes we had like multiple touches every time we execute that process or that case. We managed to actually eliminate 93% of touches on the sensor. You can imagine the impact not only on the efficiency, but also on the experience, right? Because if you are waiting for your case to be resolved, nobody wants to wait, right? Yeah. So it gives you an opportunity to really make those processes so efficient that the experience becomes extremely positive.
Well, and that's one of the things that I think is so powerful about this concept of like a simplification initiative, because simplification is, we've talked in the past about process re-engineering and those sort of things, but that was always very much like internal. How do we save money? How do we drive cost? Whereas simplification, there's that cost and efficiency element of it, but there's also that I just want to cut the fat out of this from a customer perspective, so my customer can get what they want immediately.
That's right.
And it's a win-win on both sides of the equation in the relationship.
The other thing which we've been doing at Cisco is that we're able to tell the customer when they start the engagement how much time it will take, right? So it's fundamental, because you want to make sure you put the level of expectations at the right level, right? That you're not telling customers, well, it's going to take 10 hours to solve your case when it's going to take 3 days. Or if it can take only 10 minutes to do it, then you tell the customer, I'm going to be able to solve that problem for you in the next few minutes, right? Very, very fundamental in terms of customer experience and how you drive it to the next level.
Well, and that level of transparency and visibility is just it makes all the difference. It's a funny analogy, but Domino's Pizza has this concept of the order tracker, right? When you go online, you order a pizza, and they can show you a little graph of your pizza is, the order came in, I'm putting on the toppings, it went into the oven, it's on the car. And giving that same experience to our customers of, here's the work we're doing for you, and here it is progressing through the various stages. that level of transparency makes all the difference.
Makes the whole difference in the world. I think it makes people feel that you are in control, that you know what you're doing, that you are being honest and being very transparent to them. So it brings a very different level of experience.
So Cisco is very active in the IoT, the Internet of Things. How do you see that whole world? I mean, Cisco is one of the big drivers in sort of that broader transformation.
Yep.
But how is the Internet of Things, how do you see that impacting Cisco's business as well? I mean, because you now have all these things. You know, in this room today, I'm surrounded by Cisco devices that are providing,
absolutely,
you know, internet connectivity. How do you see that impacting how you service those devices, how you maintain them, how you?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, the more you have device connected, the more you need the infrastructure to actually connect those devices. So to us, it's all goodness from a business standpoint. But also, it's an opportunity to change the way we actually do a number of things in business. I mean, the fact that you can collect all this data coming from your devices and change the game in terms of your business model, the way you interact with your customers, the insight you get, you know, from those data is absolutely fantastic. I mean, we are living in a tremendous transformation. I'm very excited about what's going on right now because it's really the second stage of the internet. It's really where the power of data is bringing a whole different level of experience, of business insights, of you know, different services that presumably we couldn't actually do even a couple of years ago.
You know, I think that the it's oft-repeated sort of truism from Mark Andreessen that every company is becoming a software company.
Right.
But I also think there's also this corollary to that, which is every company is becoming a data company.
That's right.
Your ability to use that data to have insights and deliver new experiences to your customers is going to be essential.
Yeah, our customers, you know, want to buy differently from us. They want to buy with consumption models. They don't want to be tied up to large investment in capital expenditure. They really want to make sure they can buy whatever they need when they need it and being able to dial up and down depending on what they need. So that just changes the economics of the system.
Very much so. So what other opportunities to change the customer experience do you see on the horizon? What's either exciting you, what's keeping you up at night about where customers are going?
So there is a couple of things. I mean, if I just come back to customer service that will impact the experience. So one thing we're doing right now, we're just piloting it, is we're putting intelligent routing. So what we do is that when the case comes in, we're able to determine through analytics the characteristic of the case and match it to the best available agent. And when I say that, it's really about matching, you know, what agent has already worked with the same customer, what performance did they demonstrated for solving those sort of problems, what competencies do they have, and so on and so forth, so that you get this kind of white glove service at a very low cost. Because we can't afford to have, you know, dedicated team for a particular customer. You want to use the full pool of resources to do that, right? So that actually changes the experience as well because people understand the context. You know, that's what we said about being more human, right? I mean, they understand where the customer is coming from. They can even relate to some other issues they had in the past. So they can be proactive on actually solving some issues beforehand. So there's a lot of benefits of doing this intelligent routing where you really connect the data of the problem with the data of the people in the organization.
And it's almost like you're using the technology to deliver, you know, what I would always call concierge service, but at scale.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know, I mean, a lot of us have been doing the same play of doing, you know, outsourcing, offshoring in different places. It really brings back this ability to connect with people, have people that are able to engage very differently with customers and provide an experience that has nothing to do with what we do today.
Well, and that's just it. To bring us back to the beginning, you know, that's that human interaction, that human relationship, and if you can provide the right insights, the right context, you can actually really sort of get to that point.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Your time today. So what I thought we'd do at this point is we've had some questions come in from the audience. We'll go ahead and sort of take those through now. So the first one that came in was, what drove your decision that this was the time to start digitizing?
Well, it's just the way our business is changing right now and the fact that the industry is going totally digitized. And to us, it was just a matter of making sure we're moving at the same pace as our business.
Okay. And you know, you talked a little bit about some of the risk of this with the sort of fish story, but you know, there's the question is, you know, there's huge organizational risk in doing this kind of massive change.
Right.
How do you help the organization navigate to that change? Does this need to be a top-down thing? Does it need to be a bottom-up thing? How do you actually get this to happen?
I think it's not top down or bottoms up. I think it's more about having the right vision. It's about telling people how things are changing, why we're changing it, and also providing them with a view of what they're going to do in the future. If you tell people, the work you're doing today is going to go away, and then you don't provide them with visibility on what we expect them to do going forward, then you're going to have a big change management on your hands, right? If you tell people, we're going to stop you doing those, finger on the keyboard sort of work, and you're going to be focusing and engaging with customers. We're going to provide data, insight. You're going to help your customers, your partners to do a much better job with us. It brings a lot of excitement in the organization. And actually, I have to hold back my organization rather than actually have them buying into it, because you're really providing something that is very positive for them. So it's an opportunity for everybody to grow, to raise the bar, to get into the next level of what we provide as a customer service organization.
And I think, I've heard other customers say this, that this simplification model, you're driving efficiency, you're improving the customer experience, but you're also improving the experience of your employees.
Absolutely.
And you're making it feel like they can come to work every day and make a difference, not just sort of slog through the various systems they need to somehow string together.
That is so true, Don. I think the way people react today are very different. And when you do the same thing over and over again, and having this sort of finger on the keyboard sort of work, at some point in time you want to move to do something else. I got employees in my organization that just want to stick with us because they know what's going to come going forward. It's so exciting. So it changes everything.
That's great. Now, you talked about a lot of the things that you're doing in terms of this new type of product, this as a service model.
Yep.
How do you see this work as a competitive differentiator for Cisco?
Well, again, if you are providing the right experience, it's a competitive differentiator. Another data element that's quite interesting, which I read the other day, over the past 6 years, companies that have the highest customer experience index have had their stock price increase by 46% as compared to the average S&P, which is 15%. Okay. So the stock price tripled just because they were able to provide a better experience. So that just tells you how much of a competitive advantage it is, because your stock price doesn't go that direction if you don't have any competitive advantage.
Yeah, and I personally believe that at the end of the day, so much of what we provide is going to eventually start to commoditize, but the experience, the customer experience, that's what people are going to select on and buy on and stay around based on.
If you have a bad experience, you look twice before you buy products from the same company. And something which is critical also is that the experience is something that goes across the whole corporation and the many touch points that you have with your customers. It's just a one event. It's really about a moment that matter. That's really where the experience needs to be the best possible, so that you drive this experience consistently across the customer journey. Yeah,
and I feel like in the digital world, those moments of truth come even more and faster because the customer's always popping up with something new.
Absolutely.
One other question that came through here was, how would you define success for Cisco 2 years from now? Where would you want to be in 2 years, looking back and saying, we achieved this with our transformation project?
Well, obviously, I want to be successful with our own transformation. So I want to go to the end of our transformation journey, which is about another 12 to 18 months away from us now, which means that I want to have the numbers that show how successful we have in terms of net promoter scores, in terms of the usual metrics that we use to qualify whether we're successful or not. But beyond the point, I think having our employees connecting with Cisco and having such a strong relationship with our customers is also a strong measure of success to me. It's not just about the numbers and everything. It's about also the fact that our employees are actually feeling how much value they bring to our customers, and our partners are able to actually connect with our company better.
One of the things that the OpenSpan, the team that we brought in, has said is, their model is happy employees equal happy customers.
Absolutely.
And if you have employees that are engaged, the customers are going to feel that way. And I have one final question, just as one of the people who works on the product team here at Pega, how do partners like Pega sort of help you on this journey, and what can we do to sort of help you move forward?
Well, first off, we use Pega as a backbone for this process automation and starting to get the data, the wool extraction, all the work that I mentioned previously. This is something we've done with you guys. And it was very efficient. We started this engagement at Cisco more generally about 3.5 years ago, in my organization about 18 months ago, and it's been extremely efficient and successful because you guys have the methodology, you have the tools, you have what it takes to do this sort of work. Now, that being said, you still have work to do, right? You still have to go through your process simplifications, you still have connect systems together, you still have a number of things to do, but having this backbone and methodology to get through it is what makes the difference.
Well, and I find, when we can come together with a company like Cisco and leaders like yourself that have that vision for simplification, it's the combination of that vision and the strategic direction and the buy-in from all parts of the organization to get it done, and then the technology like Pega that can actually give you the tools you need to do it, where you can be incredibly successful. And we're so excited to partner with you guys, and we're just very excited for your success.
Same here.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you to all the viewers who participated and for your great questions. If there are any questions that you have that we didn't get to, we'll be responding to those in a couple of days. And keep an eye out for more webinars in our series. And we thank you for tuning in.